Okay, good morning, everybody. This is Jackie Orr from NASCAS, and thank you for joining us this morning. I know that there are some state offices that are closed because of the weather in the southern part of the country, so I'm glad that all of you who are on the call are able to join us. So what we're going to do is all of you are unmuted, so make sure you mute yourself on your end so we don't get any interference. And also, please don't put us on hold because then we will definitely get interference. If you have questions throughout, and please, we want this to be a dialogue, so you can just ask your question or you can send it through the chat window to all panelists. That'll work as well. So that I am going to turn it over to Dietza, who's going to get us started.
And before we get into the meat of today's call, I just want to be able to do a roll call of who's on attendance. I will call out your regions if you could just identify who you are as I call your state. Connecticut.
Oh, it's not like in and out.
Hello? Is Connecticut on? Okay. Delaware?
User is here. And
okay.
I'll have Miss Kimberly Snowden, my CG.
Yeah, I'm going to call back in.
I don't know. Is anybody having I'm having interference?
Yeah. A lot. Someone talking, so please mute yourselves.
For that, I mean, like the line is very shaky or something. Maybe it's on my side. I don't know. District of Columbia.
I confirm that the line is very shaky.
Okay.
This end too, very shaky.
Yeah. So it's okay. District of Columbia. Maine. Myself, I'm here. New Hampshire, Jersey, Newark.
Where?
Thank you.
Here.
Oh, thank you. Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania's here.
Thank you. Rhode Island.
Here.
All right. Vermont. Region 2.
I'm here.
Oh, is that Vermont? Is that you, Sarah?
Yep. That's
okay,
me.
great. Region 2, Alabama, Florida, Kentucky.
I'm here. This is Sharon.
Thank you. Mississippi, Carolina, Puerto Rico, South Carolina, Tennessee, Virginia, Region 3, Arkansas.
Beverly Buchanan here.
Thank you. Iowa.
Iowa's here.
Thank you. Kansas, Indiana, Missouri. Was that an affirmative for Missouri?
Trying to get in.
Oh, okay. Nebraska.
Memphis here.
Thank you. New Mexico.
New Mexico's here.
Thank you. Oklahoma.
Oklahoma's here.
Thank you. Texas. And Virgin Islands. All right. And are there any folks from Region 4 or Region 5 on the line?
Those joined.
Idaho. Okay, great. Anybody else?
Michigan.
Oh, great. Anybody else? All right, thank you. So today's call, I just want to tell you that our agenda is that we're going to go over some of our state office administrators and board updates. Then it'll be followed with an update on the data task force, a reminder around our CSI Best Practices webinar series. Then we're going to cover the CSBG state plan, and followed by the CSBG annual report update. Then we're going to have the where are we? We're going the IS report update. We'll be talking and spending a little bit of time around the midwinter conference that's coming up, and then an update around the LCRC's virtual cap, and then I will conclude with the 2018 meeting schedule for our regional calls. Moving along, I just wanted to announce that Muska Cameron is NAPEP's CSBG project manager. So if we start seeing any emails from her, don't be surprised. She's new to the staff. We want to say hello, and I'm sure that we'll get a chance to meet her at the winter training conference. And then to announce that Karen Dunn from Washington is going to be replacing Diane Fay as the Region 5 alternate, which leads me to basically say that we have been informed that Diane Fay has left the state office of Washington. It's a big hole to you know recognize that she has left the state, and we'll certainly miss her. Freeman Denton from North Carolina has left, and I believe Sarah Grazier from Colorado will be leaving the state in January, later this month. So we want to wish all those who have been a part of our network a fond farewell, and wish them all the best in their next endeavors. Okay, I believe right now we're going to now move it to, I think we go to Chris, who will take it over to talk and give us an update on the data task force.
Hi, this is Chris Shano. I'm from Michigan, and the data task force is moving along. Last time we met as a group, we were put into committees. We have several committees. It's the guidance document committee, training, analysis, system IT, communication, marketing. So these committees that you see on your screen. Since we met the data task force, we've been working within these committee groups. The committees have met over the past few months, and they've started to formulate a plan. So each committee will have some kind of tangible item that they're going to be creating and working on for the states. We're in need that these projects need to move a little bit faster and quicker because of the implementation of Roma Next Generation this year. So the committees are really focusing on what we can do to help all the states to move the Roma Next Generation implementation forward in an easy fashion. We are looking at moving, we are looking forward to meeting face-to-face coming up. I think it's in March, if I remember right, and so we can learn what the committees are doing and how we can communicate those pieces out. What we've been working on is we've been putting together the Module 2 and 4 instructions. We've been doing the reviews on those, and that's very close to being released. About 2 weeks out, you'll be seeing those instruction manuals for Modules 2 through 4. NIST has dedicated a great amount of time and effort to get this ready for us, and I want to thank Katie and Jackie for working with the Data Task Force and putting all those up with all those revisions, updates, and new information that the Data Task Force has seen help make the documents very user-friendly and easy to understand. So a lot of work has gone in the last months in the Module 2 through 4 instruction.
Mrs. Steets, are you saying 2 through 4 or 2 and 4?
2 through 4.
Thank you.
Yep. And some other things that we've been doing is we've been talking with states. We're starting to see that states are providing training technical assistance to their agency. So we're really happy that that's going on. That's going to help with the implementation. We're also seeing that that are using logic models, that's been helpful in moving the implementation of and collecting the data for the next generation a lot easier for the community action agencies. Roma Next Generation MPIs, they're just a little different as you start going through that. So state offices may notice that some indicators are no longer available or being collected. You may get asked from your community action agencies about that, and that's right. You probably won't see those indicators in Roma Next Generation. But with some of the indicators, we're seeing another category. So some states are using process to collect maybe state indicators that our agencies can collect through the year. In my state, we're authorizing certain state indicators that under the other category. Some agencies are putting together their own NPIs. So I think each state's going to be a little differently. That is a topic that I'd like to talk about at the Data Task Force to see if we can find a streamlined method to help the states manage all those other indicators that may be collected by our community action agencies. And possibly create a pipeline for updates to our national annual report for those items to be collected. So we're seeing a lot in that area. Some of the new language that you'll start to see is strategy and services. That's kind of new with Roma Next Generation, and it's really more organized and easy to use. And many states have, I've been working really hard on updating their tools, and we're actually starting to see the agencies collecting data. So if you have an electronic database system, a lot of your tools have been collected. A lot of your tools have been updated so you can start collecting the data. We did that in such a fast fashion that some of the things that maybe were put off, you'll be working on in the next couple of months is what's the logic behind the reporting of those things that you've just collected. So there's another phase of your work. It's updating your reporting tools. And at that time, if you have questions, I'm sure NASCAS would like those questions so we can address any issues that you're running into. Let's see. The other thing NASCAS has been working really hard on is putting effort in the training area on the use of data. They presented at the CAP conference last week in a session called Measuring and Communicating Impact. We had leaders in the room. They were very in tune with Roma Next Generation. They were fabulous to talk with and learn where they are. They really enjoyed the session from Katie and Jackie and Barbara Mooney on the MPIs and how it looks with the Roma Next Generation. And that was a great compliment of the work that they've been doing so hard with all these that they've been doing this year. To see it all kind of come together. Several of the people in the room had attended state trainings that NASCAP had offered. So things are moving. We're still seeing that you should watch for training opportunities to learn more about how agencies are using data to make decisions. That's becoming really more important. And we're starting to see trends for those things on websites and their strategic plans, their community needs assessment, and some of their key documents. The data is becoming more and more important to getting the messaging out. I do have just a quick question for those folks in line is, has your state office been approached about adding NPIs to the systems?
I'm sorry, when you say adding, you mean whether or not we will expand from what is already done, or
yeah.
I'm not clear. Okay.
Yeah, I think of it as the MPIs are the national MPIs, and with other category that gives us the flexibility to add this MPIs, and then at our state we call them NPIs. And I was just wondering if other states are being asked about national MPIs.
This is Pennsylvania, and yes, we have, in fact, when we designed our data collection system, we initially relied on, I guess, the spreadsheets for modules, Module 4 in particular, and it was our impression that since there was only one space for an other indicator, that's all we built into our system. But as it turned out, we subsequently received questions from agencies about how they can add more than one other indicator, and so we've now gone back with our system developers and have added capacity for, I believe, between 3 to 5 other indicators. Now, as far as what those specific indicators are, we haven't seen those yet, but we have been approached by agencies asking for the capacity to add those.
I have a question. What kind of process are you going to put in place to add them when agencies make suggestions to you?
For our state data collection system, our COPAS system, we work with our system developers to modify the program and the coding. So, I mean, it's on the system side of things, for us, it's not a very big change. It's just a matter of adding, the additional lines to allow for that capacity. I'm not sure our business analyst who handles the data transfer process, she's not here with us this morning, but I'm not sure what that process is on the back end.
Okay.
Are you approving them?
We currently don't have a process for the agents to approve them for the agency. We allow the agency the discretion to provide their own indicator and then report on them accordingly. Now, we have, based on some of the questions we've received from the agencies, we have had some conversations with them about how they're collecting the data or why they're collecting the data, or if, in fact, the data can be reported in an existing indicator or category. So we have had some of those discussions.
Okay.
This is Dietza in Massachusetts. I think what we did is we pulled down how many, because we had redesigned our community action plan to kind of mimic the annual report, that we were able to pull down an Excel spreadsheet to see how many agencies were using the other category and what they were, and found it to be rather significant. So under the communities of practice, they've been working to try to basically have some conversations and identify something more along common indicators, because some of it are easy fixes that, it really should be an API that exists. And then some of it, if it turns out it's less enough for us to really consider adding, we were going to share that with NASEPs as a consideration. But they're still early on, because it's interesting. It's been quite a number of others. I think people found if they didn't read the way they saw it, then they just stuck it under other.
The same experience in New York. We let the agencies create their own if they really needed an NPI if they really needed an indicator that really was reflected in the list. We let them create their own. We haven't categorized or aggregated those yet, but we did allow them to create if necessary.
This is a caution. I will note that what we're also finding, though, is in some cases they really are counts and not, indicators. So, we've had to push back on some of them, too, depending on what it is. But it's certainly has spurred a network-wide conversation.
So in Vermont, we actually we gather our agencies in a work group and annually and agree on the measures that everybody agrees to collect, and then talk about the methodology around reporting on those. We don't have a statewide MES, statewide reporting, but we do that, and then that gives us 25, 30 measures that we've all agreed on and on the way to report those. So we haven't seen as many folks using other, although I will echo what Lisa just said, where they are using another, it does tend to just be a measure of the number of services or provided, as opposed to a true sort of performance measure.
This is Christine. I want to thank you for your participation. Your comments was very helpful in how this is happening in all the states. And I know with the data task force, one of the things that I might suggest is that we possibly do a survey to collect what you're starting to see in the other category, so we can evaluate it and determine if you're right, if it's services or if it's really outcomes, and if there's consistency in how we're collecting across the nation. So be coming, and hopefully you'll be able to help us out in identifying what you're seeing at your state. So thank you for that conversation.
Okay. Anything else, Chris?
No. Is there anything else you'd like me to add?
No, other than I wanted to tell everyone that Chris was also part of that session we did at the partnership conference last week.
My role was very small. Jackie and Katie and Barbara, they did a fabulous job. And you can have them come and speak at your state. Definitely recommend. They're a lot of knowledge and really great examples on how to keep us moving and motivated. So thank you, Jackie.
Thank you, Chris. So I did want to just add on to what Chris was saying. So at that session, we did, NASCAP has come up with some indicators that we think would be, could be used across some of the agencies that are not there now. So we were sharing them with the group to sort of get their feedback, and then we were asking the group if they had other indicators that they were using that weren't already captured in the annual report. So as Chris said, you will be seeing something from us. So I think we're going to try to do it with an online form. So I'll be talking to Eric at NASCAS because he's the best one to do that. So you'll be hearing from us as to how you'll be able to send those other NPIs to NASCAS so that can be a role of the data task force to take a look at what those are. So thank you, Chris. Okay, so now, oops, I keep moving forward fast. So I'm on. I did want to say, and this was my responsibility, but I can't remember who's on from New Mexico, but I think I neglected to say that Anita Medina left New Mexico State Office as well, and I can't remember whether I captured her in our November meeting or not, because I can't remember when she left, but I think she left in November. So if I neglected to share that at our last call, I just wanted to mention that as well. Okay, so let's move on to the ACSI Best Practices webinar series. So we've done 3 of them. The third one was yesterday, I think. And then we'll be doing 2 more training and technical assistance on January 22nd, and the last one on January 29th. We mentioned on the webinars that we record them and we have the slides. So we include those in the Director's Digest that gets sent out on Wednesdays. I do want to put them on our website as well, so we will do that. But as of now, the webinar nor the recording is on the NASCAS website. But we'll make sure we do that so you have access to them that way. And really good feedback, so which has really been positive. So I'm hoping that you'll be able to take some of the tricks of the trade, so to speak, and implement those in your state office. Okay, the CSBG state plan, the comments were due yesterday, and realized as I went said this means that we submitted our comments yesterday, and I neglected to send them to all of you. So I will be sure to do that, and they will also be posted on our website. And then I have links with parentheses here with links. So if we do know CAP presented theirs, sent theirs, and I believe CAP Law did, and NCAP. So if I'm able to grab those links and find the letters, I will include them in this PowerPoint before we post it, so you'll have those links. Otherwise, if I can't, then I'll just get you all those so that you'll be able to see the comments from CAP Law and the partnership, and I'm not sure if NCAP submitted comments or not. But I know some of you were on the webinar that we had a few weeks ago in December, so we didn't have, I think there was a fair number of comments, but a lot of them were more clarity than they were, major changes. And I know the partnership had many of the same ones we did, and we were on a call with CAP Law, and they brought up some really good points as well, so we included those in our comments. So do you have anything you want to say about those?
No, I think I think we just want to keep our eyes on the timeline for the next go round, based on after they've reviewed it and released it for the next 30 days, to see if there's been any change from what was submitted to where we are in reviewing the 30.
Right. Yes, I agree. And I know the last time we had a conversation with OCS, now this was a few weeks ago, and no comments tend to come in towards the end, but at that point they had only received 2 comments from the network.
Yeah.
Of course, it was right around the so I'm suspecting that we got many more comments this month. Okay, with that, I just wanted to outline the important dates for the state plan, and this was in the Dear Colleague that OC sent. So I just wanted to, draw your attention to it in case you didn't see it. So I mentioned that the first comment period just closed. So we're going to be doing the second comment period in February to March. They're on a pretty aggressive timeline, but they think they can do it. So they have, protocols and processes in place to take a look at what those comments are and organize them. So we should be seeing the 30-day comment period next month. And then in July 1st is going to be, at least at this point, the anticipated date that OLDC will be open for state submission of the submission of your state plan. I'm having problems with. Okay, so and then these are also what was in the Dear Colleagues. So these are upcoming webinars, and I did hear from a few of you about there are no links, and there aren't. So we will be creating the links, and I think at this point we have most of them. So we will be getting them out to you if we haven't already. I'll have to check with Kyle to see if we've done that. So the links will come from us. They'll also come from OCS. So you'll probably see the webinar links come from a couple of different places. We'll make sure we have them, cap them in the Digest and in just other communication with you. But if you don't have these dates on your calendar, these are good dates to make sure you capture. And they do say that they could change, but I think it's best to have them on your calendar so that you will be ready. The only other thing I wanted to mention about this is the annual report. Is this where I am? Yeah, so then we moved on to the annual report. So I mentioned, I think both Chris mentioned that instruction manuals for modules 2, 3, and 4 are expected to be released very soon. They're in the absolute final review process. So you've been needing to just make those changes, so we should be able to do that in a relatively short period of time. And I also wanted to draw your attention to the most recent crosswalk, and this came out a couple months ago, so I'm sure you've seen it, but it's the WIOA Head Start, LIHEAP, and Weatherization crosswalk. So it is on our NASCAS website. There's the link. It's on that one page where we have all the resources for the annual report. So make sure you go and take a look at that if you haven't already. If you have any questions along the way, just interrupt me. And then I did want to let you know that OCS has told us that their anticipated open date for the annual report in OLDC will be January 29th, which is coming very rapidly. So be on the lookout for communication from them and us. And that there's also going to be on February 1st. I don't believe we sent that link to you yet, but we will do so very soon. So make sure you mark your calendars. OCS is going to be doing an annual report Module 1 refresher. So it'll really focus on showing you what technical changes have taken place in OLDC. It doesn't sound like it's a whole lot, but they're going to walk you through that process like they did last year. So mark your calendars for that February 1st webinar. Does anybody have any questions about that? Or any? Okay, then I just want to mention the CSBG National Report. As you know, we've always, or in the history, we've always called it the CSBG Annual Report. And we have the CSBG Annual Report, which collects data, and that we all were talking about earlier in the NPIs and modules 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we are changing the language of that comprehensive official report is going to be the National CSBG Report. So you'll be seeing that language coming out very soon. So changing that aggregate report that we always release in January or February, in some years March, will be now the national report. So we're working on that, Kyle and Katie in particular. So we expect it to be released in February, and then along with the report, you know that we also release the fact sheets, the aggregated national fact sheet, as well as the state fact sheets. So be on the lookout for those.
I'm trying to understand, so are we still using CSBG annual report? Because I saw that which collects the data, but when you reference the national CSBG report, that's the report that goes to Congress. Is that what you're saying?
Well, there is a report to Congress that's called the report to Congress. That's sort of the official report for CSBG. But there's and you're right, the annual report, which is what we're calling now the CSBG annual report that contains modules 1, 2, 3, and 4. But you might remember that in the past, that national report that we put together every year collecting the IS data that has the fact sheets and aggregates all that data, that we've always in the past called the annual report. So now with the new annual report that contains those modules, we are now going to call it the aggregated report, and this year will be the last year that we're actually aggregating the IS data. That is going to be called the National CSBG report.
Right.
Okay, so on to the winter training conference, and we're actually calling it winter, not midwinter. It's going to be from February 26th to March 2nd. It's at a different location this year. It's at the Ritz-Carlton, Pentagon City in Arlington. I know many of you have already registered or are waiting for able to register. I think Raymond said yesterday, I think we had 147 folks up to this point who have registered for the conference. So we're doing February 26th is going to be CSBG orientation. February 27th is going to be the state managers training. So that's a little bit different. This is our first year of doing this, and we heard feedback from all of you who suggested we approach it this way. So we're going to see how this works. So those folks who attend the orientation will be attending the February 26th and 27th, and other folks are able to come in on the 27th and get that piece in before the core conference starts on February 28th, which is that Wednesday. So the core conference is going to be typical of our core conferences, where we'll have our CSBG planning and action session in the morning, and we'll kick off after lunch on that Wednesday. So I'll read them to you, and the agenda is up on the website, so you can take a look at the sessions. And we have most of the presenters for the sessions, but that's a look at what's happening in each of the days during the conference.
Jackie,
Wait, yep.
on the state managers training, there's a book around state management calendar. Can you just talk about a little bit about what that is? Is that the flow chart you guys were talking about issuing?
Yeah. Actually, it's not really. It's more. It's not so much a flow chart as it's in Excel. But it is very similar, Deetha, to what we did talk about yesterday for those of you who were on the ACSI Best Practices call. So using some of your models that some of the state offices have, we at NASCAS have created a state management calendar, which is basically a calendar sort of how, the workflow and the management of the different activities at your state office, and when do you start the state plan process. So it's organized according to months. So we're going to be sharing that as you mentioned on February 27th, and then hoping to get some of your feedback as well.
So this is Beverly. When you say sharing it, does all the state managers, or is that a committee?
No, sharing it with everybody. Yep. And for those of you who aren't there, don't worry. We'll be sent. Once we get further feedback, we'll be using this as an opportunity for further feedback, and then we'll just send it out to the network, and we'll post it on the on the NASCAS website. We have under CSBG, we have like state management tools or something like that, and we'll be posting it there. Thank you, Deetha. And the CSBG policies and procedure manual, I have been working with a small group of state office administrators, and we have talked about what the contents, what should be contained basically in a CSBG policies and procedures manual at a state office. So we have created that. It's in draft form now, so the work group is still reviewing it, so they're going to be further reviewing it, making changes, and then we'll be sharing that at the CSBG orientation. But we're also going to be actually talking about it on the February 27th, because on the 27th in the morning, one of our first sessions is to really pull in the information from the day before and talk about that. So we'll be sharing that on the 27th, and then also, of course, share it and post it on the website. Yeah. Okay. All right, I wanted to let you know this, and we sent out an email. I think maybe Eric sent it out last week or maybe the week before, so I didn't know if it drew your attention. But he is organizing winter at the Winter Conference Hill visits. So as you can see in the box, there's opportunities February 26th in the morning and the afternoon, and February 27th in the morning and afternoon, and that's before the core conference, but of course it takes place during the other portions of the conference. Then after the conference, when it's totally over, on March 2nd in the afternoon. So NASCAS will help you set up a visit to your member of Congress. So we'll make sure we have a packet of information for you that has talking points and handouts. So email Eric. If you've already set up your visit, you can email him and let him know. If you haven't, but you need some further assistance from him, and let him also reach out to Eric and let him know, and he'll be able to help you out. You can see that we have some helpful tips when you reach out to schedule your visit. So again, we wanted to be able to give you the opportunity to do this. So please keep this in mind. And he, like I said, he'll help you out. If more help you need, he'll be there.
Okay, next slide. All right, this is the part of our agenda where we would like to get some input for you. This is we have two opportunities to engage with OCS at the upcoming winter conference, and so we wanted to be able to have some questions that might be asked of network, and we often like to have them ahead of time if they aren't asked off the floor. So we put together a couple of several topic areas plus anything else anybody could think of, but I'd like to open it up and have ask, are there particular questions you'd like to have OCS or topics OCS address, and in what relations to that topic would you like them to address? So, for example, I know, we've all been dealing a lot with the CSBG state plan. They have the annual report, the federal accountability measures, the ACS results. I am interested in finding out when they're going to release their monitoring visits and what is the monitoring protocol being used. I think we all have, if we don't have any information by the time, the release of funds, because we've only gotten funds up to December 8th. But are there some questions that you would like to see addressed within the context of the conference? So I'm opening it up to the attendees right now on the phone.
This is Caesar from Delaware. I'm still interested in the annual report and the possibility of having some type of smart, I'm not sure if this is a question for OCS or not, but having the form up so that the CAA can actually input either LBC or in form that can be automatically uploaded with our approval. I know we discussed that at last conference, and that's something that OCS did speak to, but I don't know if there's a plan moving forward as we move into the next year.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing like to have that addressed. Is there a plan for that?
Okay.
Good.
Anybody else? Around the federal accountability measures, there's been so much focus around the state, and I don't know where we are. I don't think we ever actually got a report out on the federal accountability measure that I'm aware of, unless I just missed it with all the barrage of everything else. What's happening? How are they measuring? What is the process for them?
Yep.
Other thing is on the ACSI results. I think at the last conference, I might want to say at the last winter conference, but it issued out, where they kind of made a comparison state to state, and I still didn't get that. I'm just wondering if they're still planning on trying to compare state to state, because we do things differently.
This isn't that from New York.
Yep.
I was just going to say, it would be helpful to us to compare to similarly sized states. We know 49 eligible entities who have a variety of opinions, and it's not fair to compare us to a state that has a handful of entities completing a survey.
Mm-hmm.
So are you talking? I'm sorry, Annette. Are you talking in relation to the ACSI or the organizational standards, or both, or what? When you talk about
all of it.
Well, I'm specifically referring to the ACSI survey results.
Okay.
Because we continue to show improvement, but when we look at the national average, in cases, we're above, but in many cases we're below. But we'd like to know, are we below because we have so many agencies, and some of the small agencies or some smaller states are skewing the results?
Yeah.
Pennsylvania, and I echo the sentiment of New York State in that, we have 43 agencies, geographically diverse, and socioeconomically diverse. And so when we're looking at comparisons from state to state, we're specifically looking at other states that might be similar demographically and size-wise and in terms of the number of agencies. And, you know, states that have a larger number of agencies have different challenges, different struggles. You know, when we're talking about collecting feedback and doing regional meetings, let's say, to collect feedback from entities as we're developing the state plan, that's logistically a huge undertaking for us in contrast to states that, again, have maybe a handful of agencies.
Mm-hmm. Good.
And we're told, well, we're going to give you the results of other states, but you can contact the other states and ask them to share their results, which did, and they declined.
Oh.
Yeah, we're not looking for, you know, exactly what the score was for a particular state in a particular, you know, in a particular region, or if it's our region or a different region, but size-wise.
Yeah. Alignment, maybe, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
This is from Michigan. We put ours on our website if you want to see it. It's at www.michigan.gov/BCAEO. Our scores, it improved just a little.
Thank you.
Are there any questions or any other topics that you would like? I mean, this is our opportunity to engage with OCS. Going the monitoring protocol, OCS's monitoring protocol, I had made note that you can go online and see where, you know, Head Start's protocol. I reached out to our federal regional Head Start person to get a sense of what they use for their monitoring protocol, and she directed me to their link, and apparently they have a very robust one this year that they're releasing. But I'm somewhat in the dark as to, you know, what does OCS, you know, it'd be great to see what their actual monitoring protocol was. I thought that they were working on something, but it's just been we've received no update that I'm aware of.
Yeah. Okay. And I know they are working on something as well, and to the best of my knowledge, we haven't.
It's been a while now.
Yeah, right, it has.
Oh, what are they using in lieu of? I think one of the things, the conversations that's come up in our work is around all these T and TA initiatives. You know, I understand that, you know, we have to put our T and TA in our state plan and then do an update as to where we are with that. Then we all had to submit something within our regional RPIC and develop this, you know, comprehensive T and TA. But I guess, you know, for all of what's being done, I'm really kind of perplexed as to, well, what does OCS, what's the gain of all this? Because in some cases it's not being fully aligned. The RPIC's TNTA doesn't necessarily align with what we're maybe seeing in the, maybe either time-wise or topic-wise. It all depends to what we have in our state plan. There's all these initiatives going, and who's measuring the impact? Are they measuring the impact, or how is there going to be an analysis about all this investment in time and effort?
Okay.
So does anybody else have any other questions or topics they would like to see discussed at the conference?
I have a question for we'll have a final allocation. Is HS planning to withhold the 1% or whatever, the final allocation for their own TNTA? As they did, remember the amount that they were able to withhold?
Yeah.
A question to ask around the LISA fund.
And another one, and I don't mean to be a skunk at the picnic here, but if we either get eliminated or a significant reduction in our funds for 2018, does HS or OCS have a contingency plan for us? You know, what happens if we are, you know, not that's going to happen, but if we ever were zeroed out of the budget, do we just provide services up a point? I mean, what are the instructions to states? How do we advise our grantees? What do we advise our grantees?
Mhm.
Yep. Okay, I got that.
You got the skunk at the picnic part.
Yeah.
No, actually, I think I'm gonna
Yeah, that might be advisable.
I have a question on the federal accountability measure. Can somebody remind me? Are we? Or no? I'm sorry. No, this is the federal. Get it? Anything swing in my head?
We get that.
Well, next question, since you brought it up, Dita.
Go ahead.
Although you decided that wasn't really your question now, it's my
Okay.
I'm sure I don't have it in front of me, so forgive me for sounding like this. But where it talks about how I'm supposed to develop the state plan, and that probably was a part of the webinar that I missed. Is that something that a state could be sued for if they didn't follow all the steps and including the agencies?
If is your question that if you put something, or if you have your state plan but you didn't follow all of what is in the state plan, could your office be at risk?
If they weren't involved from day one in the planning process, developing.
Oh, the eligible entities?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
The state because they weren't involved?
Yes, from day one.
Fine, goodness. Let me be quiet. I don't know. I mean, it depends on what aspect, because I mean, you do based on the statute, you are having a public hearing, and you're having, you know, you do post it, you make it public. So you're saying that that all the elements within the state plan, if there was something that was missed,
they wouldn't sit down from day one and talk about it from day one to the point of the state, of the public hearing and the legislative hearing. I guess the big they're concerned about is the allocation that we decided to table. We'll change our formula. So we decided to table that, and now they are not real happy about that.
They wanted that discussion to happen?
Right. But we're planning on having it later this year. We didn't have it last year before we submitted in September, so because we didn't really have time. And we're trying to get together and have it, but they're in a lawsuit.
So, are you on a 2-year?
And Deetza, you and I can talk about this later, but I just wanted to know if anybody, you know, had ever been in that kind of situation. Because I'm going to really need to talk to some of y'all, but I know this call is timed, so if I call you later.
I think definitely bring the assets into it.
This is Chris. We always ruffle feathers when we look at our formula and changing our formula funding. The last time we opened up our administrative rules, we put how the formula would be defined to avoid these kind of situations where the agencies could threaten a lawsuit. What we did by our administrative rules is to make sure that if they wanted to change, they would have to go to the legislators.
Definitely a third rail for us. They definitely would not support this. So that is that I think is a topic for a number of states in terms of around formula funding and open up.
Okay. And Beverly, we could talk more about that too.
Okay.
Okay. So before we move on, I'm just going to ask one more round of if anybody has any question or topic they'd like to see addressed at the OCS conference. While we have them and we have a captive audience.
Yeah, this is Nebraska, and we were just wanting to know a little bit more information about best practices for on-site monitoring for the eligible entities.
Okay.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, and I'm going to turn it back over to you, Jackie.
Okay, great. Yes, that was a good conversation. I captured all your questions, so we'll put them in, and then we'll also get questions from the group this afternoon. Okay, so the last few things we're going to wrap up with is the LCRC, the Learning Communities Resource Center. Are any of you on the call applying to be a part of a learning group?
No, our network. Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, you started. I'll jump in right after.
I was just going to say our network is probably going to submit something this week, and we've asked to be part of that, and it would be around integrated services.
Okay.
Hey, Jackie, this is Veronica. How are you doing?
Pretty good, Veronica. How are you?
Good. And so we're also interested. We're going to be submitting, part of the initiative. We still haven't decided in terms of topics, but we're discussing that right now.
Okay, good. Great. And so that's good. And you know that as state offices, you can sign up sort of as a state office, or you sign up as a team with one of your agencies. So every agency has to have, I think, at least 3 people. I think that's coming up in the next week. So you could be, as a state office person, you could be a 4th or 5th person on their team. But what's in the slide in front of you is those are the 3 intensive learning community groups. So these are the ones that have the 12-month commitment, which is financial empowerment, integrated services, and the whole family approach. Now, there are also open ones, which can include health intersection, decreasing family homelessness, results at the community level, and then cultivating data-centered organizations. So it's more of you get to kind of move in and out of and I'll show you the difference in a minute. But I did want to point it out to you, and those of you who were on, we did a webinar, probably, I think it was in November, with Tiffany at the partnership, who is responsible for the LCRC, and we talked about what they were and the topics and how state offices get involved. So we wanted to continue to have quarterly webinars. So these are the 2 that are upcoming, and we have not sent you the links yet. We'll do it when we get a little bit closer. But March 12th at 3 p.m., and we're going to have someone come in and talk about, we're trying to get there, every learning community has sort of a resident expert, and we're trying to get one of the resident experts to come in and share with you what's kind of happening. So we're going to be talking about the system-level strategies for addressing whole family needs, That's going to be the topic on March 12th, and we have yet to determine the topic for June 4th, but that's the next one. And then we have a final one that we're doing in August or September. The next time we get together in March, I'll bring up that one. But so that will be the three that we will do, including the one we did in November. So I think it's been positive to have this working relationship with a partnership around the learning communities. So I did bring up this. Tiffany yesterday sent me some questions and answers that she's been getting about the open and the intensive. So open, the ones that I mentioned, those health intersection, cultivating data-centered organizations, those are open enrollment on an ongoing basis. Anybody who applies is accepted. If you apply for an open group, there's no limit on the number of persons that can participate. And the whole point is that they're intended to be open and accessible to anybody. But the intensive ones, they've actually extended the enrollment period. It was supposed to end on January 12th, and now it's going to end on the 19th, which is this Friday. But this is where the agencies or the state offices, you need to apply. You need to participate as a team of at least 3 people. You have to commit to attending the meetings and completing whatever the assignments are. And then you also receive training and technical assistance. And then every agency or state offices that applies will necessarily get accepted to participate in one. So that's sort of the difference between the open and the intensive. And then there's even another one that's about the whole, I can't remember what that one is. It's the one where they got the money from the Annie Casey Foundation, and that's it's called the Community of Practice, and that's like an 18-month commitment. So there is one other learning group that's even more intensive. So the last I knew when I was talking to Tiffany at the conference last week, they commented that there was 102 open applications because all the agencies or states, if you want to apply, you have to go into the Moodle and apply. So now that doesn't mean that all of those will come to fruition. It means that 102 sort of are open and in process, but they were very pleased with that number. So that's good. And they didn't have a sense at this point whether those were a lot, more folks applying for open or folks applying for the intensive. And before we move on, though, I want you to share, I forgot, I don't want to forget this. I want to share what you're doing in your state around your agencies and the Learning Communities Resource Center.
Oh, thank you very much. This year was their first year. We do some CSBG discretionary grants. Part of the grant application for the innovative ideas that we get from our community action agencies, we have like a grant competition. And we added points for any application that came to us that signed up to be a part of the learning community. So we've seen most of the applications our agencies are starting to apply. I believe they did an extension, Jackie, is that right? Till
yep.
I don't know. So agencies still have the opportunity to apply for a learning community, but I think it's a great way to show support for this work and really help the agencies work collaboratively in this kind of environment.
All right, great. Thank you, Chris. And just realized that I wanted to put, next time I'll put up on the slide the state offices. There's a steering committee for the Learning Communities Resource Center, so they meet like every other month or something. And there's a number of state offices who are on that steering committee, so I'll post that next time. But I know that Chris is a member of the steering committee. So thank you for that, Chris. Okay, so I just wanted to also, before we close or before I turn it back over to Deetsa, that virtual CAP roundup, NASCASP is renewing all your subscriptions to the roundup. So because it expired in December, but then I had conversations with Ken Ackerman, so it's going to continue. So you should be getting that email once a month that you can log in and see the virtual CAP roundup. If you're not getting that, and if you're new at your state office, let me know. It only went to one person at the state office because then that person can share with other folks at their state office. So like we have a subscription at NASCASP, and any member, staff person at NASCASP can access it with as long as you have your password. So, but if you don't think your state office is getting it and you like to, then please reach out to me and I'll make sure that Ken Ackerman, who coordinates Virtual CAP, that he has your information and that you'll get it. It typically comes out at the end of every month. It's a good way to see what's happening in agencies. Every month there's, different focus areas and, different things that are highlighted within community action agencies. Okay, Geetsa.
Well, we're getting towards the end. I just wanted everybody to make note on their calendar how the remaining 2018 regional call schedules will be: March 28th, May 16th, July 18th, September 5th, and November 14th. So, as always, NASEPS will send out, reminders, but you can at least, be able to pencil in the save the dates time frames. And I guess, that's, unless there's somebody who has any questions, or I'd like to ask, how are things going? I know in our state there's just been there's been a little bit of angst in two areas. One area, we at the state have noticed that we are going to have to really try to help our agencies work at having the conversations of helping the boards when they get their data, making informed decisions, how they go ahead and really get very practically integrated with the ROMA process of making informed decisions, because we just completed our community assessments and strategic planning, and as we start to look at what they're doing in their community action plan and linking it to what their community needs, trying to understand and have the conversations, well, why are some of these programs still existing if they're not really rising up, and how are you presenting to the board? And I think we're finding, that is very hard, because in some cases it's just something that's been married to the agency and there's really not much data to support it, and so we're finding that we're having to do try to have these conversations to really help the agency staff with having the conversations at the board so that there can be more informed decisions. And it all depends on the size too, because we have some some agencies that are greater than just community action. They are multi-service agencies, and so it becomes a challenge. So that's one of the things that we're picking up in our state as to how we go about trying to handle that. But I was just curious to ask people in general how things are going in your state. Oh, I guess I'm the only one, huh?
Fun and games here in Arkansas.
Yeah, I guess. Okay, well, if there are no more questions or any feedback to what we've discussed thus far, I guess we can call this meeting. And I want to thank everybody for your time and attendance and remind you about the upcoming winter conference. I'm looking forward to attending the orientation from the state managers, the state managers training. I think it'll be good to kind of get in the room to collaborate and be a support to one another, as well as the integration of those who are new coming into the network, and then just networking with the rest of everybody during the core conference. So I just want to thank everybody for your time and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
See everybody
Bye-bye.
at the conference.
All right, bye-bye.